All right, so today we are coming up with a way to mount this. This is 15 pounds, not kilograms though, so haha, there's a trap, but 15 pounds of 1.75 millimeter PLA black. This is enough filament to keep you busy for quite some time. You know, I print enough stuff that I'm looking to get something a little bit bigger, and now I do. So I got this on Black Friday and I haven't mounted in a while. For reference, this is what a normal spool looks like here. So you got the width there, about twice the width, but where it really matters is the girth, and it's quite the show. Quite the show. It appears my camera rattled out of position here, so it's I think it'll be a pretty nice upgrade. So the current system that we have now is just a simple 9mm rod that is at the top here that the filament spools along. So to help aid it, I have these just printed core pieces that allow, instead of having a herky-jerk motion as it unravels and kind of cams over every time based on where the filament is looped, there's a lot of these spool inserts that help rotate, since this is a fairly small shaft. So one of the big challenges of having such a large spool is that the center core gets so much bigger, and it's kind of hard to do right over the center of a bot like this, or even to my other bot, which is on the side over there that you can see. So came up with a pretty good solution. As you can see, our 15-pound spool is pretty large and heavy, so it's even a challenge just to get the dang thing on there, and I even have it in the wrong damn hole. And as you can see, it sits on that top surface and only has a very small area for the entirety of the spool to rest on, which makes it for kind of a herky-jerky motion as it rolls along, which means that the motion of the head going back and forth isn't going to be very useful at all. As is the case in the laboratory so many times, something broke. And today, it's the poor tripod. That poor leg. Unfortunate. We'll get it wrapped up with some electrical tape for a temporary stint, and it'll never fully fold all the way down, but that's okay in the end. I would say it's good as new, but we all would know that that would be a lie, but it is better than where it started. If at first you don't succeed, try again until something stupid works, or you wind up throwing it away and buying a new one. So what we got here is we enhanced the structural rigidity of this guy by just throwing in some of those useless extra hex wrenches that we seem to get with everything and yet don't need a lot of. But yet the one that we actually do need is the only one that we don't have. So this should hold up a little better, quite a bit stronger. I modeled the part up in Fusion 360, which is quickly becoming one of my favorite software packages here. And through the power of editing, you get to see me clumsily making this wonderful contraption, mostly by just kind of chucking some stuff together. But I wound up doing some FEA on it, and the values that I used were based off of something that I found online that suggested using 1/3 of the material strength for the material you're printing in. So that's what I wound up doing, but it still passed. So I took a look at the model once it was in Cura, and I took a look at my settings here, and I'm going through, I'm using 33% triangles, but the thing is, looking at that bottom there, that's a 12-hour print, nearly 1 kilogram of filament. We can do something better. So we head on back into FEA, and we take a look at her, and we make her a bit skinnier here, and bring that back down to a more reasonable value. So we're back down to 20 mil for a width. Chuck that back into the simulation, and away we go. So now that it's back in the slicer here, it's down to 5 hours, and we're down to, you know, 1/4 of a kilogram instead of 3/4 of a kilogram. So Just taking a look through all of our settings here. It looks like this was semi-PLA temp, so we're going to bump that to 245 and lower the print speed to 60. This Amazon Basics PLA that I've been using appears to be a little stingier how fast it's flowing, and I want it to work well, especially because I don't want to waste all this PETG. And we bump up the bed temperature to 85 degrees. I also do have glue stick on the base of the printer just to make sure it doesn't stick too well to that wonderful PEI bed surface. So let's get it on the bed. So now we have our centerpiece here, and we just have to put in the 608 bearings, which are, you know, straight out of a fidget spinner that nobody wanted, right? So I already have this one pressed in. I did that just to see if it would work because I pretty much guessed at the other ones, and now we just need to put in this one. So in the words of one of my favorite YouTubers, tappy tap tap. And there we go, pressed in as a nice bearing surface. So like I said before, what this will do is it'll take all the friction off of rubbing on the rod that's going to go through and be mounted on the wall, and instead it'll just go on two nice bearing races. Because the hole on the inside is slightly oversized for the rod, and the bearing is just right for the rod. So it shouldn't touch any of the inside of this piece at all, and just glide nicely on those surfaces. All right, it is time to insert it. So what I'm gonna do is do a kind of screw it in. Going around the back here, and then as it goes to the front, it's quite a lot of fun. Come on. And there we go. So bearing here should glide pretty smoothly. Now it's time to mount it on the wall. And now we're gonna find out where the studs are, so then we can use that to plan out where we're gonna put it. With another astonishing use of the eyeball laser, I've at least installed them with the tops correct. So I'm gonna get the sides actually straightened out for real this time, and then see if that rod still runs through, and then we will fasten the lower two screws and see if it holds. Wish me luck. All right, so we're gonna get the spool mounted up. So I have the rod threaded through the two bearings in the middle, and we'll set her in, and it worked. All right, and it looks like it spins pretty darn well on those bearings. So we'll give her a couple spins and see if it's working correctly. Now the thing that I noticed while spinning it though is that it can move from side to side inside of those racks there, which I'll solve in a little bit by adding in some electrical tape. So I'm just going to add some holes on the top there so I can run some zip ties through and fasten the Ethernet cable. And then I'm going to give it a spin here and make sure that it rolls correctly and that it's not going to go side to side. So on the sides there I've added in electrical tape, which I will solve later by adding in some end caps to prevent it from falling off. All right, so now that it's all set up on the wall, it's time for the real test. Here we go. Oh. It's moving. It's moving. The wheel is turning. The fitting is falling here. And there is, in fact, plastic coming out of the bottom in the form of a nice noose. Isn't that wonderful? So we are going to crank up a little more and see if we can get that to turn. I think it's actually turning. I am as surprised as you are. So turned her up quite a bit here to 240 millimeters, so we'll see if she continues to turn. Oh, look at that. I think we have ourselves a winner. I mean, obviously the real test will be to to use it actually in motion there with this head moving back and forth. But it'll also be really nice, I realized, not to have the suspended mass of all the materials above hand. So when this thing rattles, there's this giant, you know, counterweight that is weeble-wobbling back and forth, and it's not the good kind of counterweight, which is at the bottom in the center of mass, but it moves the center of mass way up, which, now that it's a disconnected system, only connected via, you know, a tiny little filament tube, should be pretty easy. You know, should be a lot easier on the mechanics of this bad boy. So I did wind up making simple end caps, as we talked about before. So all they are is just some printed end stops, and then I will put in an additional 3 screw ports, so we can use that to make sure that the caps stay on and prevent the rack from side to side. And here are some basic print settings on what I did. Pretty simple print, pretty simple process, and should be pretty easy. Well, there you have it. One wall-mounted 15-pound spool holder at the top there. The best part is, I think, is that it rolls smoothly on those ball bearings, but it's also able to have that large roll taken off and the regular rolls put on. So we're not making it any more difficult to use the system. So if you like this video, subscribe, leave a comment below, just so I can see what you thought about it. I like sharing these kind of things because someday you might want to make something of your own. So that's why I like to present this. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. I have in the links below what I use, as well as the Thingiverse files that I'll be posting for this later. Not many of you will probably be able to print these parts in the sizes that I have, because they took up most of my Mongo's board, and that's a pretty big bed. But if you want to, feel free to check it out. Appreciate your time, and hasta la bye-bye.